What's up, you guys? Thanks for coming back for an bonsoir, bonjour. Hola, bonsoir, bonjour. Thanks for coming back for another video. Alright, so in today's video, we are going to be talking about, and I am going to also be showing you how to start an IV. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I have been a nurse for almost 8 years. I know that sounds like such a long time. I didn't start in the emergency room right away. I started on a med-surg tele unit. I worked on the gastric bypass unit. So that was like a step down unit area. And then I transferred over to the ER, where I will tell you one thing about ER nurses is we are IV kings and queens, okay? To remember working on the floor actually, and if we had a really difficult stick, we would be like, oh, just go down to the ER, they'll come up and do it. An ER nurse would come strolling up in there all confident, get that IV on the first try. And I used to be like, gosh, how do they do that? It's literally practice, guys. Practice, practice, practice. In the ER, you're doing it on literally everyone that comes in the door. You have your infants, you have your children, you have your toddlers, you have your teenagers, middle-aged people, and all the way up to the elderly. You're starting an IV on everyone and every age group, all ethnicities, everything. So the more you're doing it, the better you're gonna get, obviously. But these are going to be some tips and tricks that I have learned over these years on how to actually nail it on the first try. And I can't wait to show you guys everything. Some pointers on what to look for, what you want to feel for before you even stick a person, because there's nothing worse than sticking someone more than once. Don't be that girl or guy. So let's get right into this. By the way, my jacket is from Medalita. I got this as a gift to myself when I got into the ER and I finished the whole ER program, because I've been in the ER for about 4 years. Yeah, let's get into the video. Right now at just the colors, you think like, well, what's the difference between them? You're not really paying attention to the colors so much as you are the numbers. So you'll see the lower number 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and a baby 24. I say baby 24 because the higher the number, the smaller the needle. Blue 22, green 18, and then you have your standard pink 20. You can give blood transfusions through it, fluids, meds, whatever you need to get. No one really goes for a 14 gauge unless you absolutely have to, and there is a major trauma that comes in that really needs some large bore needles. Just don't be sticking nobody with that for no reason. But in the ER, this is what we would use on a child, an infant, or a baby. 24 gauge. It's the yellow one, a little baby one. If you're ever in doubt, before you even approach a patient, just grab a 20. First thing you want to do before you enter the patient's room to start your IV is have your supplies ready. Most hospitals will have an IV start kit, the IV you need, and flushes. Alright, so the tools needed if you don't have an IV start kit: Tegaderm, tourniquet, tape. If the patient's allergic to the regular tape, you can always use paper tape. Chloroprep, especially if you're starting blood cultures. If you're grabbing blood cultures, you need to use Chloroprep. Alcohol, an extension, your flush, and the IV that you're going to be using. And let them know what you're about to do. If they tell you things like, oh, I always pass out when people start an IV on me, be sure to tell them Take small deep breaths, look away when I'm starting, and I won't tell you when I'm going to poke. This usually does the trick. Don't expect it. And if they're breathing, they won't pass out. For the most part, people pass out because they hold their breaths and they stop breathing. So if you remind them of this prior to sticking, they'll be okay as well. So the first thing you want to do is get your tourniquet prepared to wrap around your patient's arm. Before you start, always make sure you check the order, verify the patient's first and last name, date of birth. When you loop it around, be sure to leave a little bit hanging so it's an easy pull to take down once you're in. You want to feel your patient's arm, looking for the vein and then looking for what direction the vein is going in. Prepare your alcohol swab, or in this case, your ChloraPrep, to rub on the patient's arm for 5 to 10 seconds. In this video, you will notice that this patient's arm does not have superficial veins, meaning his veins are deep. Also, there are patients that will have valves, meaning once you're in, you may get a flash, but not be able to advance the catheter any further. In this case, because I am not doing a blood draw, I will prepare my extension set and flush to be ready to flush the patient's IV once I am in. Always make sure the catheter hub is facing up prior to penetrating the patient. Aim at a 30-degree angle. Insert the needle slowly, advancing the catheter. Once you get a flush, pull back on your needle, attach your syringe and flush, and remove your tourniquet.